Hey, Coach. Uh, with Myles Garrett making that crucial play, the strip sack, what went into that for him, and are you kind of challenging him to, come up with those huge, game-changing defensive player of the year type plays on a regular basis now that he broke through with that one early in the season for you?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm really challenging him to make those type of plays. We just, we want to put him in position to use his athleticism to make it hard and take advantage of our matchups, and that's what he did. We put him over a guard, and as you guys saw in the play, like, he has unbelievable ability to create and counter offensive linemen's momentum, and obviously we had it paired with the game with Porter there, so just let him win one-on-one outside there, and Porter wrapped, and then he got his hand on the ball right at the right time, and it was perfect.
Thank you, Nate. Daryl Ryder.
Hey, Coach. Porter Gustin's a guy that seemed to really come on during training camp, and he's already made a couple of plays for you these first 2 weeks. Could you talk about him and just, the spark he's been able to give you?
Yes, Porter is the guy that every coach wants in the room. He wants one of those guys that is going to get the job done. He's going to do everything that you ask of him, and he's going to do it with the technique that you coach and make you look really good as a coach. But he just works his tail off. He's in here on the off day for hours and hours, getting extra flexibility, mobility work, studying tape, doing everything he can. And I saw how he said this offseason gave him a chance to catch everybody else, and that's great that his mindset thinks that way. I was telling somebody the other day, he was picking up breakfast. He got some eggs, some pre-made eggs. I said, why don't you get fresh eggs? And he said, that's not time efficient, Coach. Can't wait for those. So that's his mindset. Love that guy.
Thank you, Daryl. Jeff Shadell.
Hey, Coach, not just Porter, but could you talk about how the depth on your defensive line is already being tested? Vernon's out, Claiborne's questionable, so you guys seems like you need that depth.
Yeah, it's tough. I think that happens everywhere in this league, with the roster size, and you're just a couple injuries away from being shorthanded, so and especially with COVID this year and the timing, you can bring guys in and they got to get tested. So all that stuff goes into it, but we got some guys here that we're looking at and seeing if they're ready to be quality backups for us. But as always, it's a number game, and we're going to try to survive with 7-man rotation if we have to. If we need 8 guys, we'll find out who that 8th guy is. But it presents its problems for every team, when you have a couple injuries at a position.
Dan Labia, will go to you.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask about Porter a little bit too. You touched on some of it, but and kind of how he was at USC and even back in high school, this guy was like just an animal in the weight room, like a legend in the weight room. Have you gotten to see any of that and some of that stuff, pre-practice and post-practice?
Right. Like I mentioned, I saw him in our off day doing all kinds of mobility, flexible work. Looked like he was doing a yoga class on his own. It's pretty impressive, but haven't really seen him, lifting weights or whatnot. But, those type of guys that work their tail off, like you said, in pre-practice, are out there early, hitting the sled or working on their footwork or doing it, whatever. Usually the guys that are going to put in the extra work in the weight room too. So, like I said, that's just his mindset. He wants to be efficient with his time. He wants to work hard, and he knows he has a chip on his shoulder to, to beat out some guys that are, say, more talented in this league or whatnot.
Thanks.
Marla Ridnour, you're up.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned, you have some guys to see, you're looking to see if they could be quality backups. What kind of potential do you see with Joe Jackson?
Yeah, Joe's the guy they brought in, and right away you could see that Joe had some very good attributes in his body. He's got some violent hands, rushing the passer, and he's got a good get off. And, he was a guy who was just a draft pick last year, and Dallas didn't have room for him with the guys they signed. And, so we brought him in the building, and he's playing for us on Thursday night on, rushing the passer on third down with a big fumble recovery. So, we'll just got to continue to push him. He's still young as can be, obviously. My job to get him coached up and see what we can get from Joe. But he's a guy that just wants to, go to work and work better, get better at his craft. And so I like what I see in Joe so far.
The fact that he did make a big play in his first game, does that, say something about him?
Yeah, he was in the right place at the right time, that's for sure. But no, Myles obviously made the play, and then he got the fumble recovery, which was awesome too. So that was good.
Thank you.
Scott Patrick.
Hey, Coach, how good has Larry been for you in these first 2 games?
Very good. He surprises you every now and then, flashing with his athleticism, and get off and twitch and strength. And, for Larry, and I've said this before, it's just continuing to work with him to where he's a 3-down starter. He's been great in the run game. He's made obviously a huge fumble he made 2 weeks ago, but he's just a guy that's going to make plays. It seems like every time we call a stunt, he makes the guy miss. He's in the backfield with an opportunity at a TFL. I think he missed one last week, but Larry's going to be just fine. He's going to continue to make plays for us on first, second down, and as he continues to progress, hopefully we can get him more third down reps.
What have you learned about his personality being around in the last, couple of months?
Larry's a quiet guy, but Larry has a huge heart. He's a very good person. He's a great teammate. He's somebody that, he's not necessarily going to be a leader by, shouting and yelling at guys to do the right thing, but, he may pull somebody aside and say, hey, we need to get going here. And he's progressing in that area too. He's a quiet guy that likes to work, but a really good kid.
Thanks.
Last question goes to Nate Ulrich.
Coach, going back to Myles real quick, how much of an emphasis was forced fumbles with him? Because, we see him get the sack numbers, and not that he's had some forced fumbles in his career for sure, but, there are some guys out there who just seem to have a knack for it and rack them up consistently. Was that anything you guys talked about or no?
Yeah. Yes. I think all D-line coaches, talk about that in different areas, but to me, I coach all the guys the same in that area as far as getting the ball out when you get to the quarterback. Like you said, some guys have a knack for it. Some elite rushers, when they're running by, to swat at the hand as it's up in motion. We have a technique called run, reach, as you're reaching that arm, straight arm, going for the ball and all that, which is what you saw him do to Joe Burrow the other night, just reach that right hand out and slap the ball right out of his hand. And obviously guys with, good length, 34-inch arms, makes it easier as they're coming around the edge and can reach and get the ball. But we are always going to coach that. That's the number one thing, is us creating takeaways to give us the best chance at winning games. And so the defensive line is going to be coached that way. And then obviously Myles, challenge him to continue to get the ball out when he does get to the quarterback.